Alright, so in this tutorial we're going to add this player health script. Alright, and we're going to give the enemies damage. Alright, so let me go back here. In my scripts, in my enemies script, I created this enemy damage script. So right click, create, C# script, enemy damage. That's what I named it. You can name it anything you want to. This is what it says. So serialized field int damage, because we don't need to affect that outside of within the script. And then player health, which is the player health script. So every time when these enemies start, they're going to find the player health script. So before they update, not going to do it every time they are enabled, because they should only need to have it once. So in this one, we are going to say in private void on trigger stay 2D. So if the player's inside of their hitbox, basically, it's going to damage the player. So it's not going to take it all away all at once, because in the player health script we have a special condition that it has to be. Basically, it's a counter saying that it has to count down, and once it counts down, then the player can be damaged. So this is just debug.log. I was trying to debug this to make sure it worked, and I got it working. So anyway, because I'm making the video, if I didn't get it working, I wouldn't make the video. So this is saying if collision. So if this collider that is colliding with this enemy damage object, compare tag, which means if its tag is equal to player, then player health dot take health. And we're going to pass through this damage thing just like we did with the enemy script. So now here's the thing about player, this tag. So if you don't know how to create tags, you want to go to your player object. I think we did this with the enemy already. And newer versions of Unity have player already in there because it's a common tag. But if not, you can go to add tag. I have mine on debug mode. You can press plus and then add the player name. Make sure it's spelled correctly, or this script will not pick it up. That's a common problem. People will find a bug because they didn't spell this string correctly. So make sure it's spelled player, or whatever you want to name it. But make sure the tag and this are spelled the exact same. So, of course, you're going to add that to your enemy prefab that you've already created. Give it a damage of whatever you'd like. I have mine at 1 just for testing purposes. And then we're going to do the same thing with player health. We're going to create a player health script and attach that to the player. And this is what this looks like. So we have an int for health. We have serialized field max health, so you can change it in the inspector. We have float damage counter. We're going to make another timer so that it counts down, so that we're not just getting it damaged over and over and over again instantaneously die, basically. Then we have a serialized field float damage time, which I have mine set to 1. I started at 0.5 to start out with, but I thought that was a little too fast. But I have it at 1 in the inspector. Excuse me. Let's see. And then a bool saying that we died. So bools are true or false. Did we die? Is it true that we died, or is it false that we died? So in start, died equals false. So we don't want this to trip by accident, because then the game's over. In start, health equals max health. Before we get into update, let's go down to set invulnerability, which is damage counter minus equals time dot delta time, and set invulnerability is being called from update. All right, so you can put your die method down here. Basically, right now, all it's saying is that you died. It's not doing anything because we're going to get into that when we get into scene management. So, in update, I have if health is less than or equal to 0 and not died, that you have not died, because we don't want it to be called over and over again, then you go into die. And in die, it sets died to true. That way it doesn't trip over and over again. And once we get into scene management, it'll reload the scene or something. But I want to show you these voids, these methods right here. Receive health. So you're going to want to have an item that heals us up. So let's go ahead and prepare for that. So it's a public void so that that item can get it. Just like this enemy damage can reference the take health method. Basically, it's saying it's going to be passed in just like the damage is. Whatever item we have to heal is going to have a method that is going to call this receive health, and it's going to have an int that will pass through this to give it health. And it's just like the damage, so health plus equals this int that's being passed through. And if health is greater or equal to max health, then health equals max health, because we don't want it going over max health. So, and then we have public void take health, which is what we are calling from this enemy damage script. And what this says is if we're passing in the damage through this, and if the damage counter is less or equal to 0, then we can get hurt. So remember, we have this damage counter up here so that we don't get hurt, because this is on trigger stay. That means that as long as the player is touching anything, it will get hurt. Excuse me. Sorry, my phone was going off. So if the damage counter is less or equal to 0, I have this debug statement here that says damage to take plus damage taken at, so it'll say 1 damage taken at time since level loaded, so 1 damage taken at 8 seconds, for example. You don't have to worry about this debug.log thing. It was just there for me to make sure everything was working correctly. So if damage counter is less or equal to 0, health minus equals damage to take. So health minus damage to take. And the damage counter equals damage time. So it resets our damage counter every time we get hit. That way, like I said, it will not just continuously hit us and make us die instantaneously. So if we've taken damage and our health is less than 0, then our health is going to equal 0. We don't want it going under 0, just like we didn't want it going over max health. So, and that's it. That's pretty much just it for this tutorial. Let me show you what this looks like. I want you to see it's enemy. So let me find my player real quick before they all jump on me and kill me. I want to go to debug and find my health script. So here's my health. Here's my health, and when they touch me, look, it's going down, and it's counting down by this damage counter that you see right here. It's counting, and it's 0. So still being triggered. So let's pause it right here, and somewhere in here it'll say you died. I just saw it. There's my debug statement for damage taken. It's in here somewhere, I promise. Anyway, there's so many triggered statements, and I really need to take that out so it doesn't muddy this up. But anyway, you see that it's working. It's doing great. And that's the end of this video. If you liked it, hit the like button and the subscribe button, and share the video if you know anybody else who would benefit from it. And if you want to support me on Patreon so I can make more content and honestly make better content, because right now I'm just doing this in my spare time, trying to hurry through these videos and getting them done, then you can support me on Patreon, and the link will be in the description. Thanks, and see you next time. By the way, next time, I'm not sure what we're going to go over. I said art in the last video, but we really needed to do this one. And there's a few other things, like getting a health bar up, and then an XP bar so we go up levels and stuff. And then there's so much more to do than that. But we're going to get to the XP, and then we're going to see which way I need to go. Alright. Thanks for watching. Take care.